Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Haley Ebert, and I am a program coordinator with Women's Economic Ventures in our training programs. And we are so excited to have you all here. I wanted to quickly thank our sponsors for, oops. quickly thank our sponsors for sponsoring this event and many of the things that we are able to do at Weave and serve our community. And so I wanted to, again, introduce myself as a program coordinator for Women's Economic Ventures, and then also introduce our co-host, Nicole Radin, if you want to introduce yourself and what you do at Weave.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole, and I work on the same team as Haley in our Learning Solutions team as the program officer. So I help oversee our all of our training programs and ongoing learning initiatives. And I'm delighted to be here.
Great. And we are so excited today to introduce Michelle Carlen, also a member of the Learning Solutions team. And Michelle is the founder and president of Alignment Advising. She is an energetic professional, business and career coach, trainer, and facilitator. She has worked with hundreds of clients, including many Weave clients, including organization executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, employees, and job seekers. Michelle leverages 20 plus years of expertise in hospitality, tourism, and property management, which she employs to produce an array of value-added results for her clients to include impactful and sustainable strategies, improvements in organizational development, executive presence and communication skills, robust growth cycles and bottom line, and positive growth mindsets. Michelle is also a graduate of California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. She is an advocate, an artist, and volunteer in the community. And we are also excited to congratulate her on not only being an instructor with Weave, but also as a new business advisor for us all. So Michelle, we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Haley, for that kind introduction. It's so exciting to be here with you this morning, and I get to look forward to getting to know some of you in the breakout sessions a little bit later.
Great. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can all see each other a little bit better. And let's go ahead and ask Michelle a few questions. So, Michelle, we would love to start off by asking you just how and why you started your business.
Sure. So imagine, if you will, being in an industry that you love for 20 some years. You love your clients, you've been able to work your way up the corporate ladder, so to speak, when suddenly and in a very surprising way, you find yourself without your job and your career. And this is me. This is my story. I had feverishly worked into the tourism and hospitality space here in California and mostly in Southern California before moving to Santa Barbara about 6.5 years ago. And I had worked for different tourism marketing organizations representing various cities and jurisdictions, promoting tourism for people from outside of the areas, doing marketing, sales, business development, and an array of other business management skill sets. And I was mentoring and training people, and I really enjoyed that piece of it. So suddenly, when I found myself in what I would describe as a very toxic work environment, I'm sure some of you have had those. Maybe it was a toxic person or the entire culture of the organization was toxic. I found myself as a leader within that organization having to stand up for what I felt was ethically correct. And as a result of that, I found myself without that six-figure income, excuse me. And so that, as you can imagine, put me into a tailspin. And mind you, I actually was considering starting my own business prior to this experience. And this all happened to me in the early part of 2019, so before the pandemic. I became very isolated. People that I thought were friends of mine, I didn't hear from. And as you can imagine, it was a time of what is going on? What do I do next? And I, just decided that I'm going to continue what I know to do, which is to look for full-time work. But at the same time, I also worked with some coaches and went through an introspective process of what was I doing for the organizations that I'd worked for? What marketing, business development, sales skill set or acumen did I have that I could leverage as a consultant or as a business owner in some way, shape, or form? So that incident really propelled me into this process of figuring out how could I make an impact? And I mentioned mentoring and training people, and that's really what it boiled down to. Is I found myself realizing, sure, I could consult in marketing and sales and business development, and I do. That's very much a part of my business, alignment advising. But I also do coaching and training and mentoring for professional skill set development. And how I did this was very slowly. It didn't happen overnight. Unlike my job loss, I determined that I needed to, let's start in a part-time manner where maybe I was able to gain a client and really launch my business that way, even before I decided to get a business license. So essentially what happened is I got that client, and then that was a few months before March of 2020. And I actually had 3 big contracts on my desk. And I was ready to go. I was going to make the income that I needed and estimated. And boom, the week the World Health Organization declared a pandemic, I suddenly found myself without those contracts. So I, as you can imagine, was, okay, what do I do next? This is how my business starts in a pandemic. And as you all experienced, and each one of us has our own story, it was quite challenging, I have to tell you. But I went ahead and did what I knew to do, which was call everybody, talk to everybody. And I did gain some new clients. And I know, Haley, you'll be asking me some more questions about different things related to that. But that's how I started, was very carefully and very slowly.
All right. Well, I would love to know what have you achieved as an entrepreneur that you feel particularly proud of?
So I'm particularly proud of being published in 2 books. And I always had this idea that I was going to write a book, and that's still on the table for me. But it came to me through a friend of mine. She works with a networking group in Arizona for entrepreneurs. And she invited me to this group, and the group has actually collaborated on a book series where they've asked business owners to participate by giving a quote. And it's all related to inspiration and business acumen and those types of things. So I'm very happy to officially be in the Library of Congress in these 2 books called The Art of Connection, and it's 365 days of quotes from business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers. The other thing is that I've been able to expand the services that I offer. And that actually is a result of the pandemic. So I had in my mind mostly marketing, business consulting, and through the months and months and months of lockdown, I was able to network with a lot of different associations and networking groups, and determined that I could offer some other services that I didn't necessarily think of.
That's great. I did not know about your about you being published in 2 books. That's excellent.
Thanks, Haley.
So thinking about, I know that you had a lot of challenges in becoming an entrepreneur, but as you started your business, what were some challenges that stood out to you, and overcoming them? And in overcoming them, what advice would you give to new entrepreneurs? And I'm sure that you often give this advice in our Explore class that you are teaching.
Yes, it's to always give yourself grace, first and foremost. I find that women tend to be very hard on themselves. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, if it's how we're raised, maybe a combination of both. But to give yourself some grace that if you're taking actions towards building your business, that's all you need to do, really and truly. And, you know, I have stumbled many, many times over the last 3 years. And to say it was easy would not be true because it's been very difficult. But there's been these great wins along the way. One of them being working with Weave and meeting all of you. And so I take those small wins and I celebrate them, and I give I give a pat on the back to myself, which, you know, some people might say, oh, that's very self-centered. But I think that we do need to give ourselves credit, because we are the ones that we wake up with ourselves. We're with ourselves all day long, right? So we have to be happy with who we are. And the way to do that is to congratulate yourself on the steps that you are taking, because nothing happens overnight, especially when it comes to successful things.
So how does your work as a Weave instructor and advisor align with your business in supporting entrepreneurs?
It aligns so well, from the standpoint that I have always had a passion for working with women. And as I just stated, I find that women don't give themselves the credit that they deserve. And so I want to help them gain more confidence and gain more understanding of their possibilities, right? So often we think that many things aren't possible, but they are. And so working with Weave, what I love about the organization is it makes those possibilities happen. I think that's why all of you are here today. And it's great to see that collaboration. And so that's very much a part of my business value, is to collaborate with other organizations and individuals. And so teaching the Explore class, and now working as a business advisor to business owners, really is actually in so much alignment with the types of clients that I normally work with anyway in my company.
That's great. And Michelle, I was just thinking about this as we were thinking about you being an artist and also a business advisor and instructor, and your business is so, you know, business focused. I'm just so curious how your artistic mindset and your creativity really lend itself to business advising, instructing, and consulting within other businesses.
That's a really good question. Let me see how I can answer that. So I think in a number of ways, I very much am someone who's analytical. As you mentioned, having that business mindset, and really how I work with a lot of my clients who are businesses. But as an artist, I'm a creative person, and I think most creative people experience the world differently, with a lot of emotion, and I would describe empathy. So the artistic side of me allows me to understand people that I wouldn't necessarily understand otherwise. And I'm able to intuitively understand and empathize with the experiences that they have, not just because I've had similar experiences, but because I think my mindset is able to think in both the analytical and the creative. And so it's a great combination. And being an artist is not easy either, by the way.
No, absolutely. That's great. And so what's next for you and your business?
Well, I'm just so excited to see what's next. Now, I'm one who always loves to develop a plan. So yes, I've outlined my actions and my plan and my goals. Of course, one of them is to write the book. And I have colleagues who are saying, well, you need to give yourself a deadline. And I'm going, I don't know that I necessarily want to do that, because I don't know that it's one book. I don't know if it's a short book. I don't know if it's a long book, but that will definitely dovetail into my business. Additionally, I want to continue to develop some new clientele, and So while my expertise is in the tourism, hospitality, and property management industries, through the networking groups that I've joined, I've been able to access other industries. So I'm serving professional services, healthcare, manufacturing, industries that I don't necessarily have that knowledge of, but because the business concepts apply the same to what they're doing in their work, I wish to expand that further. And of course, I look at everything as an opportunity. So as I meet people and I'm talking to them, I'm really listening to what do I hear that their need is. A lot of times people think that I, have pretty turnkey services within alignment advising. And I encourage folks to reach out to me and just say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what my challenge is. And is this something that you can support me with? And, I've actually created a new line of services. So I'm now doing recruiting for small organizations for executive positions. And that actually aligns very well with the executive presence training that I do. So I also am doing career coaching, resume writing, interviewing, skill set training. And so that too complements the recruiting piece of it. So to answer that, it's a number of things are in the pipeline. I'm always open to what comes to me. And that's actually one thing I would share with all of you here today is, be patient, try to continue to just keep going. If that was one thing that you take away today's message is to keep going. And some days it's easy. Some days you feel like you're floating and other days you feel very heavy. And that's normal.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing, Michelle. Spoken like a true entrepreneur.